A flash flood warning for the Alexander Mountain and Stone Canyon burn scars. We're live outside Loveland where firefighters have pulled back in the face of floods, and we're hearing from Coloradans who call themselves repeat evacuees.
Seems like once we have a fire, then flooding becomes the next problem.
And tonight, we'll help kick off a new disaster recovery fund, ready to help Coloradans impacted now and by whatever comes our way next. Rebel Republicans have a fresh chance to get rid of the state party leader they say is wrecking their party and their chances in November. And a former elections manager testifies against the election-denying clerk, saying she told her to hide evidence of their tampering with voting systems. That's tonight on Next. First flames, then flooding. The concern in the area of the Alexander Mountain fire in Larimer County. Heavy rain over the fresh burn scar has a flash flood warning on right now. Concerned that the slopes burned bare aren't going to be able to absorb much water, and some could even slide. 2 people died in a burn scar flash flood nearby in 2022. Our Mark Salinger is up there near Loveland, where firefighters had to retreat Mark off the mountain to avoid the floodwaters.
Yeah, Kyle, this is the fire camp behind me where those firefighters still battling the Alexander Mountain fire are staying. Now, this afternoon, when the rain moved in, many of them had to come back here because it was simply too dangerous because of the flash flood warnings up in the mountain as they were fighting that fire. We were with the Larimer County Sheriff's Office when that flood warning came through.
Yeah, so we just got a flash flood warning for the Alexander Mountain fire burn scar from the National Weather Service.
After more than a week battling flames, today the threat for firefighters on the Alexander Mountain fire comes from the sky.
The moisture will definitely help our firefight, which is nice, but it also causes other issues at the same time.
Justin Whitesell is the Emergency Services Director for the Larimer County Sheriff's Office. With storms moving through this afternoon, firefighters had to retreat from the fire line and leave the firefight to Mother Nature.
The firefighters will have to probably come down from Cedar Park and Storm Mountain because that road is one way in, one way out. And so the folks that were up in Cedar Park will have to come down just in case there is flooding issues.
Yeah, gotta roll with the punches, I guess.
Jim Morton and his wife Pat just returned to their home outside the town of Drake after evacuating from the fire.
It hurts to think that you might lose it, and then we hurt for everybody else who did lose things.
Their house sits under the Cameron Peak burn scar. That ground that burned 4 years ago still struggles to absorb any rain that falls.
There was ash up there, and that doesn't absorb water.
And what previously would have been an inconsequential rain all of a sudden is a problem.
The bridge they're standing on is new. It's been washed away by floods many times over the years.
Yeah, we've been evacuated before. Laughed about being repeat evacuees.
Once we have a fire, then flooding becomes the next problem.
As firefighters near 100% containment on the flames, flooding concerns will continue for years.
Typically, we expect 5 to 10 years of dealing with flooding issues in an impacted area from a fire.
The rain was coming down pretty hard this afternoon. Luckily, though, we don't know of any damage or any substantial floods that happened in that burn scar area. Obviously, right now, it's pretty dry, but this threat of flooding will continue for many years to come. Now, Highway 34 that goes up the mountain into Drake and Glen Haven and then eventually Estes Park, that was opened up today for the first time. The Weather Service, Kyle, promptly told people, don't take it, it's too dangerous because of the floods.
Yeah, one thing then another. Appreciate your coverage from Larimer County. Mark, thank you. So there is a new community-based effort in northern Colorado to create a disaster recovery fund to help neighbors bounce back from the Alexander Mountain fire and also to help make that land safe and whole again faster. This week's Word of Thanks microgiving campaign is helping to create the Northern Colorado Disaster Recovery Fund. It's a way for our donations to stay local, to help Coloradans impacted by the Alexander Mountain fire and other natural disasters in northern Colorado. This new fund is a project of the nonprofit Community Foundation of Northern Colorado. They're not taking any fees or overhead to do this. So first up, they're ready to help the families impacted by the Alexander Mountain fire, including the dozens who lost homes. Then they'll pivot to the work needed to restore the watershed and do reforestation, which we know is one key to preventing deadly floods in the years to come. And then this fund will stand ready to help our neighbors in northern Colorado tackle the next natural disaster that comes their way. Remembering, we're just 4 years removed from the catastrophic Cameron Peak and East Troublesome fires, and this season is shaping up to be dangerously hot and dry for wildfires. Scan that QR code on your screen or text the word THANKS to 303-871-1491 to get that link to donate. You've proven over years that even $5 donations help, so as always, I'll match the first 50 donations of $5 to get us rolling. And more than 3,000 of you have signed up to simplify your giving with a monthly donation to the Word of Thanks Fund. And what that has meant is that we have started your recent weekly micro-giving campaigns with $22,000 in donations each week. You can use that same QR code or text to get there. After separating sparring Colorado Republicans to their respective corners briefly, a judge says they can fight again. Judge lifted an order keeping Republicans from trying to vote out Party Chair Dave Williams for his well-publicized tomfoolery. Politics guy Marshall Zellinger is along. And Marshall, the judge did something that we find to be admirable around here. Admitted a mistake.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? When this judge learned the inner workings of the Colorado Republican Party, the judge ruled that he can't get involved yet because the Republican Party has not exhausted internal efforts just yet. And so he did away with the temporary restraining order that he granted, which had prevented the party leaders from trying to oust Williams as party chair. And that meeting, to try to remove Williams, is now rescheduled for later this month. But not if Williams can help it. It's the latest in the ever-spinning world that is, as the Colorado GOP turns. Todd Watkins, vice chair of the El Paso County Republicans, and Nancy Pelosi, chair of the Jeffco Republicans, are two of the Colorado Republican Party's 400 or so Central Committee members. They just won in court after an Arapahoe County judge ruled he lacked jurisdiction to issue a temporary restraining order, which stopped their July meeting to try to remove Dave Williams as party chair.
Political parties, kind of like churches, kind of like charitable organizations, right? They get to decide for themselves how to organize themselves.
Chris Murray is the attorney who helped Watkins and Pelosi get a judge to get out of the way. Watkins submitted the names of 113 people who say they want to hold a vote to remove Williams as chair. The party's executive committee rejected those signatures because Watkins did not provide a paper trail confirming those people knew what they were supporting. The party then sued to prevent Watkins from holding a July 27th meeting at a Brighton church to try to remove Williams. The judge granted a temporary restraining order preventing that meeting until yesterday, when the judge learned it was the executive committee that rejected the signatures and not the party's larger central committee.
Until the highest body or highest authority of a political party, which in Colorado is the state central committee, has acted, courts can't get involved.
When Party Vice Chair Hope Schepelman held a meeting under a bridge in Bayfield last month, she scheduled the next meeting for August 31st. Fresh off his court victory, Watkins has now called for a meeting on August 24th. Williams and the party call that meeting invalid and illegal. But if a third of the 400 Central Committee members show up, there would be enough to vote to remove Williams and other party leaders.
Really where it leaves us is the folks who called the meeting either have the votes to get what they want or they don't.
So that July meeting that couldn't really happen because of the temporary restraining order, there were enough members there to hold a vote, but they just never did official business. So this August 24th meeting that the party leaders, Dave Williams, Hope Schepelman, call invalid and illegal, if enough people show up, it's possible they vote to oust those leaders, which then at the next meeting, perhaps it leads to a lawsuit again to then get the judge involved and say, now you have the power. We don't think that meeting should have counted. Put us back in charge.
All of this, of course, happening at a time when what Colorado Republicans should be doing is preparing to win some elections in November, but instead you got people hiding under bridges like fairy tale trolls.
Yeah, I think if you ask the other party, the Democratic Party, they would talk about this is the time of year when you're fundraising for candidates, you're putting flyers and mailers out and making phone calls for candidates, and that's not what's happening universally. It's happening, I'm sure, in some sections, but not universally with the Republican Party.
Well, they sure have put the fun in dysfunctional. All right, Marshall Zellinger, thank you. Denver police say 3 of their officers joked about going to shelters full of migrants for target practice. That's cost them their jobs with the department. Our Kelly Rinke has learned that one of those officers recently participated in a program to learn about the city's diverse communities. Kelly, a lot of good that appears to have done.
Yeah, Kyle, a year after that program, he was under investigation. DPD fired 3 officers in late July. The department said they shared disparaging messages in a group chat, and the messages joked about going to newcomer shelters for target practice. We did a story about one of the officers last year. Rodrigo Basurto was a recruit who participated in a program to expose new officers to the city's diverse community. As he walked through the Far East Center, he said the program will make him a better police officer.
Not only make me a better cop, but make me a better resident for Denver. The history of Denver, it's amazing. I learned a lot this last couple of days that I had no idea, and I've been here pretty much all my life.
DPD says it's appalled by the messages. They said it disrespects not only migrants in our community, but also every other officer working to keep everyone safe. There were other cops in that group chat. The department said they will go through additional equity, diversity, and inclusivity training, Kyle.
All right, Kelly Rinke reporting. Thank you, Kelly. Big drilling project near the Aurora Reservoir is getting the go-ahead over the objections of neighbors.
She said, I love you, and you have support, and don't say anything.
A former Mesa County elections official testifies against her former boss, the clerk, who's accused of tampering with their voting systems. That's next. State regulators are giving the green light to a controversial oil and gas drilling plan near the Aurora Reservoir, with some concessions for nearby homeowners who have fought that plan. Colorado's Energy and Carbon Management Commission approved a sweeping 32,000-acre drilling plan from Civitas Resources out of Denver. Most of that drilling will take place on Lowry Ranch, just east of the Aurora Reservoir. Neighbors have opposed the project. They are concerned about noise and traffic and pollution. To appease them, state regulators will require Civitas to use electric equipment, and regulators have signaled they might eventually deny some of the individual drilling sites that are closest to homes. Arapahoe County commissioners also have some final control over the project. They get to approve or deny each individual well pad in the project, which under new requirement passed last year, have to be at least 3,000 feet away from homes. Let's touch base with meteorologist Kathy Sabin to see what's happening over our burn scars with rain this evening.
I bring you good news and update, Kyle. The flash flood warning for the Stone Canyon burn scar and also the flash flood warning for the Alexander Mountain burn scar have both been canceled because the weather is improving and the rain is letting up. So good news there. And we've got sunshine over downtown Denver after a stormy afternoon. We have big changes with the arrival of a front that will come in during the overnight hours. So while we're enjoying a break from most of the cloud cover and the rain, we're going to see a lot more of that over the next 48 hours. As a matter of fact, these are our current temperatures. So the first surge has already moved into northeastern Colorado. We were 91 in Denver today. We've cooled back to 78 while still almost 100 in southeastern Colorado. Tracking severe storms in northeastern Colorado with a severe thunderstorm watch out where the heavier storms are this hour, tracking toward the east, dropping the potential for heavy rain and large hail into the evening. Now, things are clearing out of Denver, but those heavy showers continue through Byers and Deer Trail and up across Boulder County and Larimer County. We're getting a break in the rain, and those flash flood warnings have been canceled for now. The severe weather threat will continue through 10 o'clock northeast of Denver in the blue shaded area, and that's where we expect some of these storms as they travel east could maintain their integrity and possibly bring in a little bit of hail along with the heavy rain. Here comes the front around 5, 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. Cloudy, cooler with scattered light showers during the day, and then a few embedded thunderstorms during the afternoon as the heating of the day brings those storms off the foothills. We're looking at temperatures in the 70s over the next few hours, but check out the extended forecast. Some areas won't get out of the 60s tomorrow and Friday. Low to mid 70s in Denver with a good chance for rain both days. Scattered showers on Saturday. A bit of a drying trend, but temperatures continue below the average of 90 into early next week.
Colorado's best-known election conspiracy theorist is accused of orchestrating a conspiracy of her own. Today, a former staff member claims Tina Peters went to great lengths to cover up her elections breach. Next. You think your workplace drama is thick? You presumably were not in court today trying to put your former boss away on a felony. Former Mesa County Clerk Tina Peters Now, she has workplace drama and a fat stack of felony charges against her for tampering with her election system. Former elections manager Sandra Brown agreed to testify as part of a plea deal in her own felony case regarding the Mesa County elections breach. In 2022, Brown pled guilty to a felony charge of attempting to influence a public servant, as well as a misdemeanor. Prosecutors say that she lied to the Secretary of State's office to sneak an unauthorized person into an election system software update so they could look for proof of election fraud. Passwords and photos of voting machines ended up online shortly after. Brown said in court today that she was misled by former clerk Peters and that Peters and far-right activist Sharona Bishop later asked her to hide a server from investigators.
Did Sharona Bishop give you any direction?
Yes.
What was that?
To go and get the server and get it out of there.
Did you go and get the server?
No.
Why not?
Because that would be stupid. I mean, the Secretary of State had already come in, they had already looked through the machines, and I was told that the district attorney was working on getting a search warrant, that they were coming in. If they hadn't already, I don't remember at this point in time, but I wasn't touching any of that stuff. It was part of an investigation.
It was the way she said stupid that got me. Brown says that former clerk Peters also directed her to buy a burner phone so they could communicate during the criminal investigation. And then after Brown turned herself into authorities, she says Peters told her to keep quiet.
Tina showed up the day I turned myself in.
Did she say anything to you?
She came in and she said, I love you and you have support and don't say anything.
Always good to have a supportive boss. Brown is the second employee to testify against Peters this week. Peters insists she's the victim in all this, that she was just trying to protect voter data so they could search for evidence of election rigging. We're going to be back with your feedback, maybe even some office drama, Maryland, office drama. That's next. No felonies. Families have gone home after the Alexander Mountain fire, with the exception of families who lost their homes. And now all of them face the threat of flash flooding in the burn scar area. Tonight, your latest Word of Thanks micro-giving campaign is helping to launch the Northern Colorado Disaster Recovery Fund. The Northern Colorado is standing this up to help those impacted by this fire, to work on the recovery of the land, the watershed, the forest, and then to help our neighbors in Colorado impacted by the next wildfire or natural disaster. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word THANKS to 303-871-1491 to join me and other Coloradans in supporting the Northern Colorado Recovery Fund. Feedback from Shirley tonight, who says, I love how you match your weekly Word of Thanks charity choice to current events. We try to do that when possible, Shirley. I know everybody, when something bad happens, wants to help immediately, and often we have to caution people that we don't want those dollars going out of state. We don't want them going to groups that don't have a great track record. So when we can work with a trusted group, like the Community Foundation of Northern Colorado, they're local, they're transparent, they're going to be here and be accountable, that's when we try to line up those causes and invite you to join me in supporting them. Becky says you did it again. You bashed Republicans multiple times regarding the effort to get rid of Chairman Williams. You never disappoint. Well, Becky, I appreciate you noting my commitment to consistency, but also bear in mind, this is a Republican on Republican disagreement. It is Republicans who want the man gone. So if you think that I'm being critical of one group of Republicans, it is by nature complimentary of the other group of Republicans. Maybe the whole thing falls apart.